Have you ever gotten totally lost in learning something new? Like when you're diving deep into a new topic?
You just want to absorb it all, right?
Yeah. And today we are going deep, exploring the power of self-motivation.
We're going to tap into some really thought-provoking insights from the book, 100 Ways to Motivate Yourself, Change Your Life Forever. And the author really sets the stage with this really vivid image. Think of the universe as a huge field of fresh snow.
Ooh, okay, I like this.
And every action we take, every step we make, it's like leaving a unique footprint on that snow. We're constantly shaping the landscape of who we become. It's like you're not just passively existing, you're actively sculpting your own growth, which is pretty cool when you think about it.
That's a really cool way to look at it. So what's our mission for you in this deep dive today?
Well, we're going to sift through the gold in this book and extract the most powerful, actionable ideas for you. We're talking about those aha moments that can really kickstart your inner drive.
So almost like a cheat sheet to understand the core principles of what really gets us going and keeps us going.
Exactly. And what's really great about this book is it goes beyond those kind of abstract theoretical ideas about motivation. It gives you this whole toolbox of practical techniques, from changing how you think to very specific day-to-day things you can do, all aimed at helping you tap into and sustain your personal drive. It doesn't just talk about it. It gives you very specific actions to take.
Love it. Let's jump in. One story that really grabbed my attention early on was about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Fresh off his bodybuilding career, an interviewer asks him, what's next?
And this is what's so striking. Most people might be hesitant, unsure, but Arnold, he was like, next, I'm going to be the top movie star in Hollywood. No doubt, no hesitation.
No way. I mean, that's kind of crazy to imagine, right? His acting career was just starting, and, well, let's be honest, his accent and physique weren't exactly typical Hollywood leading man material back then.
Yeah. But here's the thing. His explanation is what's so powerful. He said it's the same principle he used in bodybuilding. You create a clear picture of who you want to be, and then you live as if that picture is already your reality. He doesn't wait for someone to tell him what to do. He's proactive about it.
So he's not waiting for a vision to just kind of appear. He's actively choosing what he wants.
Yes, it's a conscious act of imagination, and that's so empowering. You don't have to sit around hoping inspiration strikes. Decide what you want, what will get you up in the morning, excited to start the day. Decide that right now.
That reminds me of that idea, telling yourself a true lie. I know it sounds weird, but think about how kids make up these elaborate stories about themselves, stretching the truth.
Oh yeah, my niece does that all the time.
Right. It's almost like play acting.
And the book calls these lie poems because they're like these creative exaggerations. But what's fascinating is they're creating a desired self-image, even if it's just in their imagination. They're essentially practicing who they want to be. And that ties into the whole fake it till you make it idea.
Okay, so our brains are pretty good at blurring the lines between what we imagine and what's real.
Yeah. Your brain's really good at picking up on consistent, vivid images. If you're always picturing yourself as this super successful, confident person, your brain starts to believe it.
Yeah.
And then you start acting like that person. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I guess that's what they mean by keeping your eyes on the prize.
Right. But it's not just about having a goal. It's about being so focused on it that everything else melts away. And the book talks about Jimmy Johnson, the former Dallas Cowboys coach, and he has this brilliant analogy about a simple 2x4.
What did he do? Hit his players with it?
No, nothing like that. It's way more clever. He said, imagine I lay a 2x4 flat on the ground. Every single one of you could walk across it without a second thought.
Makes sense, yeah.
But then he says, now picture that same 2x4 suspended high in the air. Suddenly it seems terrifying, impossible even. The task is the same, but the mental landscape is totally different.
So it's all about our perspective.
Exactly. In the first scenario, we're focused on the simple act of walking. But when it's high up, our minds are flooded with worries about falling, about failing. And the book argues that's exactly how we approach our goals. When we dwell on doubts and fears, we lose sight of what we want to achieve.
So instead of being laser focused on putting one foot in front of the other, we're tripping ourselves up with all this mental baggage.
That's it. When we keep our attention on what we truly want, it starts to become more real, more attainable. And that kind of intense focus often means simplifying your life too. The author's a big advocate for getting rid of anything that's not essential, anything that doesn't directly contribute to your goals. Delegate it, ditch it, whatever you need to do.
It's like decluttering your life, not just your home.
Exactly. And there was this really practical suggestion about combining tasks. The author gives this example of reading your child's book reports while you're also like grocery shopping.
Oh, right. Multitasking.
It's about getting creative with your time, finding ways to achieve multiple things at once. Every little bit of efficiency helps.
It does. It does.
And then there's this concept the author highlights, handle everything immediately. It sounds pretty intense.
It does. Like, handle everything right this second.
Well, not exactly. It's more about having a system. Like when you get a new email, you deal with it right then. You don't let it sit there and become this big looming thing. It keeps your mental space clear, keeps you moving forward.
And that ties into the point about how confusion leads to a lack of, what was it? Aggression. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah. I think it's more like assertiveness or decisiveness. If you're constantly second-guessing yourself or feeling overwhelmed, it's hard to make bold moves,
Right. I get it.
It's like when you're driving and you're not sure which direction to go, you end up just kind of idling, getting nowhere.
You stall out.
Yeah. And then there's the whole idea of how simplicity can actually boost creativity. It seems counterintuitive, but the book uses this amazing example of Michelangelo's David, the sculpture.
Oh, yeah. Icon.
Michelangelo saw the masterpiece hidden within the raw block of marble. His job was to simply chip away everything that wasn't David.
That's a really cool way to think about it.
So it's like in our own lives, we need to constantly refine, strip away the unnecessary distractions and commitments to reveal what's truly important. Less is definitely more in this case.
And, that whole idea of creating space really relates to the next point.
Yeah.
The book talks about how it's not always the things we do that drain us, but the things we don't finish.
Oh, yeah. Like having all those half-done projects hanging over you. It's like this constant drain on your energy. The author talks about this person who felt like they were always starting things but never finishing. And at first, they tried those positive affirmations, I'm a good finisher and all that.
But that didn't work, huh?
No, because it's not enough to just say it. You have to actually do it. The book says the best way to change your beliefs is to change your reality. Show yourself you can finish things by actually finishing things. It doesn't matter how small they are. Every completed task is a win.
So like a track record of completion.
That's it. Actions speak louder than words, especially when it comes to convincing your own brain.
Makes sense. Now, shifting gears a bit, the book has a really interesting take on the unexpected. It's not about dreading it, but embracing it as, get this, a form of creativity.
I love that. It's so true. We often think of creativity as coming up with something totally new, completely original.
Like inventing the wheel or something.
Yeah, but the book says creativity is about being unexpected in your responses. It's how you adapt, how you innovate when things don't go as planned.
So it's not just about the big revolutionary ideas, it's also about the everyday resourcefulness.
Right, exactly. You're being creative when you find a clever solution to a problem or when you approach a familiar task in a new way. It's about thinking outside the box. And the author also talks about their experience reading Napoleon Hill's The Master Key to Riches. And it wasn't about finding some secret formula for wealth. It was about self-discipline, about the power to control your own mental attitude.
That's pretty deep.
It is. And what's so powerful about this idea is that, we can't always control what happens to us. The world throws us curveballs all the time. But what we can control are our reactions, our thoughts.
Our mindset.
Exactly. And that's where real power lies. So the master key is really about choosing how you respond to things, how you choose to think.
It's like choosing to focus on the good instead of dwelling on the bad.
Yeah, and it's not always easy. It's like training your brain to look for the positive, to find the opportunity in every challenge. And to help with that, the book introduces this concept of definitely planned work as a way to transform negative energy.
Definitely planned work. What does that mean?
So picture this. You're feeling down, frustrated, maybe even a little angry. Instead of letting those emotions consume you, you channel them into action. You have a plan. It's written down. You know exactly what steps you need to take.
Oh, so it's like turning those negative feelings into fuel for something productive.
That's it. You're taking those raw emotions and turning them into forward momentum. The author gives this great example of a guy who meticulously plans out his entire week. Every task, every meeting, it's all laid out.
Okay, so he's not just going with the flow.
No, he's taking control. And that sense of ownership, of having a clear direction, it's like an antidote to those negative feelings. Because, if you have a plan and you're working towards it, it's hard to stay stuck in that negativity. You're too busy moving forward.
I like that. And there's also that analogy about bouncing your thoughts, which I thought was really helpful. It's like if you only ever dribble a basketball with your dominant hand.
Oh, your opponent can easily predict your moves, right? You become predictable.
Exactly.
Well, it's the same with our thoughts. If you're stuck in a pattern of negative thinking, it's like only using that dominant hand. You're limiting your options. You need to train your brain to bounce those positive thoughts, just like you'd train your weaker hand in basketball.
It's a good image. So it's about practicing optimism until it becomes second nature.
Right. And with practice, those positive thoughts become more automatic. You literally rewire your brain to be more optimistic.
So we've got the vision, we're working on our focus, and we're practicing positive thinking. What's the next step? How do we actually take action?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. The book talks about this idea of starting slowly to finish faster.
Wait, what? I thought the key was to just dive right in.
It sounds counterintuitive, I know, but think about it. When you have this huge, overwhelming task in front of you, it can feel paralyzing. You don't even know where to begin.
I feel that all the time.
We all do. But the book suggests that if you give yourself permission to start small, almost leisurely, you kind of trick your brain into overcoming that initial resistance.
So you're basically outsmarting your own procrastination.
Exactly. You're not putting all this pressure on yourself to have a perfect start, so you actually end up making more progress.
And speaking of getting started, the book actually suggests tapping into your own brain chemistry to boost motivation. Things like laughter, singing, even dancing.
Yeah, because those activities release these amazing chemicals in our brains, like endorphins, that give us energy and make us feel good.
Oh, so it's like an internal reward system.
Right. And it ties into that quote from Fran Tarkenton, the football player. He said, if it's not fun, you're not doing it right.
It's a good one.
So if you can find ways to make whatever you're doing more enjoyable, even if it's something you don't particularly like, it suddenly becomes more doable. It's all about mindset.
I also found it fascinating how the book talks about the connection between self-motivation and our relationships. It emphasizes that having a strong, motivated relationship with yourself is the foundation for healthy relationships with others.
Makes sense, doesn't it? You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly feeling drained and unmotivated, it's going to spill over into your relationships.
Yeah, it's tough to be your best self for someone else if you haven't taken care of your own well-being first.
Exactly. And on the flip side, when you're feeling motivated and energized, you bring so much more to your relationships. The book also talks about how relationship building can be creative, like Margie's story with the indelible marker. I won't spoil it for you, but it's a great example of thinking outside the box to connect with someone.
I have to check that out. And speaking of creative approaches, the book highlights the power of rituals, even those really mundane, everyday ones. It suggests they can actually help us overcome procrastination.
It's like having this built-in trigger for action. When you establish consistent routines, your brain starts to associate those actions with getting things done. You're essentially training yourself to move past those initial hurdles.
So like brushing your teeth before bed or making your bed every morning, those things can actually help us be more productive in other areas of our lives.
Yeah, it might sound strange, but think about it. Those rituals help us switch gears, mentally prepare us for what's next. And the best part is, you don't need to be some super creative person to benefit from them. Just find simple things that work for you and stick to them.
The idea that really resonated with me was finding a place to come from. The idea that we shouldn't wait for happiness, but create it in the present moment. Don't postpone feeling good about yourself until you achieve something.
It's about not making your happiness conditional on some future outcome, right? You can choose to be happy right now, regardless of your circumstances. There's a quote from Emmett Fox that really sums this up. Love acts the part. It's saying act as if you're already experiencing the feeling you want, and it will become real.
So you're basically embodying the feeling you want to have.
Exactly. And that positive energy is contagious, not just for you, but for the people around you. And to keep that positive energy flowing, we need to talk about continuous learning and growth. The book emphasizes the importance of being curious, like be a good detective.
So ask questions, dig deeper.
Yeah. When you're genuinely interested in something, it doesn't feel like work. It's engaging, it's exciting. So make a conscious effort to cultivate curiosity in your life. Seek out new knowledge, ask questions. It makes everything more interesting.
And speaking of seeking out new knowledge, I was fascinated by the concept of the relation shift and Spencer Johnson's idea that helping others is actually a key to your own growth. It's like this wonderful paradox.
It's a really powerful shift in perspective. Instead of focusing solely on what you can get, you start looking for ways to give, to contribute to the success of others.
So you're essentially putting others first.
In a way, yeah. But the amazing thing is, when you do that, you end up growing exponentially yourself. It's like this positive feedback loop. And it's not about being a martyr, it's about recognizing that true success is often interconnected.
Now, let's be realistic. Growth is not always linear. The book reminds us to expect setbacks. Those 2 steps forward, 1 step back moments. It even suggests planning for them.
Yeah. It's like expecting the unexpected. Things aren't always going to go smoothly.
Like they say, life happens.
Right. But those setbacks, they're not failures. They're just part of the process. And what's important is how you bounce back. The author talks about tough-minded optimists who actually schedule time for rest and rejuvenation.
So they're like proactively planning for the dips.
Exactly. They know that to keep going in the long run, you need to take care of yourself. It's like running a marathon. You can't sprint the whole way. You need to pace yourself, take breaks, and fuel your body.
It's a great analogy. And what's also really empowering is learning about how adaptable our brains are. I mean, even as we get older, our brains can still learn and grow. It's like we can literally make ourselves smarter.
Yeah. The book debunks this myth that as we age, our brains just decline. The truth is, it's often a lack of mental stimulation that's the culprit.
So it's like use it or lose it.
Exactly. The more you challenge your brain, the stronger it gets. It's like any muscle in your body. So the key is to stay curious, to keep learning throughout your life.
Now let's talk about those inevitable obstacles, the things that can really derail our motivation. The book emphasizes the importance of coming to your own rescue, taking ownership of your own self-esteem.
That's so key. You can't rely on external validation to feel good about yourself. It has to come from within.
So it's not about seeking approval from others. It's about believing in yourself.
Exactly. And that's a big part of self-motivation. Because you don't believe in yourself, why would anyone else? And on a related note, the book makes a really compelling case for the power of happiness. It's not just a byproduct of success, it's a driving force behind it.
So it's not that successful people are happy. It's that happy people are successful.
That's the idea. Happiness fuels creativity. It fuels resilience. It fuels motivation.
It makes sense. When you're feeling good, you're more likely to take risks, to try new things. And I found that explanation of whole brain thinking fascinating. How engaging both sides of our brain, the logical and the creative, is key to unlocking our full potential.
It's about using all the tools in your mental toolbox. You don't want to get stuck in just one way of thinking. So use your logical, analytical side to plan and organize, but also tap into your creativity, your intuition, to come up with those innovative solutions.
So it's like having a balanced approach.
Exactly. And to really kickstart that whole brain thinking, the book suggests creating our own internal challenge games. Instead of waiting for life to throw us a curveball, we can proactively challenge ourselves.
Oh, I like that. So set your own ambitious goals.
Yeah. Push yourself beyond your comfort zone. Don't wait for a crisis to motivate you. Create your own opportunities for growth. And that leads us to visioneering, which is basically about using mental imagery to turn your dreams into reality. It's about seeing your goals so vividly in your mind that they almost feel real.
I love that the author uses Margie's story about teaching her friend to dive. It's such a great illustration of how mental rehearsal can actually make a huge difference in real life.
It's so true. Athletes do it all the time. They visualize themselves winning the race, making the shot. And it's not just about seeing it, it's about feeling it, experiencing it in your mind.
So you're basically creating a mental blueprint for success.
Exactly. And it's not just for athletic achievements. You can use it for anything. Public speaking, creative projects, even having a difficult conversation. And when it comes to facing challenges, we can't underestimate the power of lightness and humor.
A little laughter goes a long way.
It does, and the book reminds us that it's actually a sign of maturity to be able to take things lightly. It doesn't mean you're not taking things seriously, it just means you're not letting fear control you.
I love that. It's about finding the humor in difficult situations. And I'm sure as you said, laughter can really diffuse tension.
For sure. When you can laugh at a problem, it loses some of its power over you. And on a more practical level, the book really advocates for the power of lists, and not just for groceries.
Lists for life.
Pretty much. It's about getting everything out of your head and onto paper. Your goals, your to-dos, your ideas. It brings clarity and helps you prioritize.
So instead of having this jumbled mess in your mind, you have a clear, actionable plan.
That's the idea. It's about taking control of your thoughts and turning them into concrete steps.
I like it. And speaking of concrete steps, the book also emphasizes the importance of having an attack plan for your goals, like a blueprint for achieving what you want.
Because a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? There's a great quote in the book, "A goal without an action plan is a daydream."
Ouch, but true.
So don't just dream about it, map it out. What are the specific steps you need to take? What resources do you need? It's like planning a road trip. You wouldn't just get in the car and start driving without a map. You need to know where you're going and how you're going to get there. And what's also really interesting is the book's take on the word no.
You mean how to deal with rejection?
Well, it's more than that. It's about seeing no, not as a dead end, but as an invitation to get more creative.
So it's not a full stop. It's like a comma leading to something else.
I love that analogy because when someone says no, it doesn't mean your idea is bad. It might just mean it needs tweaking, or maybe there's a different approach. So instead of getting discouraged, see it as a challenge to find a more innovative solution. And when it comes to pushing through those challenges, the book reminds us that energy comes from purpose.
So knowing your why.
Yes. Having a clear understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it can be incredibly motivating. It's like that amazing story in the book about the mother who lifts a car to save her child.
Wow.
It's an extreme example, but it illustrates the point perfectly. When you have a powerful enough why, you can tap into reserves of energy you didn't even know you had.
That's so powerful. And in today's world, with all the constant information and stimulation, the book actually recommends taking breaks from the news, like literally going on news fasts to protect your mental well-being.
Yeah, because constantly being bombarded with negativity can really take a toll. It can make you feel anxious, overwhelmed, and even hopeless. So taking a step back, giving yourself permission to unplug, it can be incredibly refreshing for your mind.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. And when you do feel that worry creeping in, the book offers a simple but effective strategy. Replace worry with action. Ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do about this right now?
So it's about shifting from a passive state of worry to an active state of problem solving.
Right. Worry is often paralyzing, but taking action, even a small step, can help you regain a sense of control. And this ties into the book's distinction between whiners and thinkers.
Okay, I think I can guess which one is better.
Yeah. The whiners get stuck complaining about the problem, while the thinkers focus on finding solutions. It's a subtle but significant difference in mindset.
One is focused on the past and one is focused on the future.
That's a great way to put it. And finally, the book makes this really interesting distinction between pleasure and enjoyment, emphasizing that true enjoyment comes from activities that involve skill, challenge, and a sense of flow.
So it's not just about instant gratification.
No, true enjoyment is deeper, more fulfilling. It comes from activities that push you to grow, to learn, to master new skills.
It's the feeling of being totally absorbed in something.
Yes. It's like that feeling when you're so engaged in what you're doing that time seems to disappear. And the book provides all these strategies for cultivating that kind of enjoyment in your life. And, one particularly powerful technique is to reframe your weaknesses as strengths.
So like turning your perceived flaws into something positive.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that what we often see as weaknesses can actually be unique assets. Like the author talks about Arnold Schwarzenegger's accent, which, could have been seen as a disadvantage in Hollywood.
But it became part of his charm, his trademark.
Exactly. It set him apart. And even something as simple as stating, "I am the problem," can be surprisingly effective.
Wait, really? Why would you want to say that?
Because when you take ownership of the problem, you empower yourself to find a solution. It's a shift in perspective. It's saying, I have the power to change this.
Like taking control of the situation.
Exactly. And the book also talks about the inflate your goal technique, which is really interesting. It's about setting audaciously ambitious goals, even if they seem impossible at first.
So dream bigger.
Yeah. Because when you stretch your imagination like that, you unlock new possibilities. You start thinking outside the box. And even if you don't achieve that inflated goal, you're likely to achieve something far greater than you would have otherwise. And for inspiration along the way, the book emphasizes the importance of having heroes.
Role models.
Yeah, people you admire, whose lives and accomplishments inspire you.
So it's not about hero worship, it's about learning from them.
Exactly. Study their journeys. Figure out what made them successful. What obstacles did they overcome? What lessons can you apply to your own life? And ultimately, the book says the true measure of a vision is not its size or grandeur, but what it does. Does it energize you? Does it inspire you to take action?
It's not about fixing what's broken. It's about creating something new, something exciting.
Yes. And that ties into the idea of having a binary mindset. It's about making a conscious choice. Are you on or off? Positive or negative? Creating or reacting?
It's about choosing to be proactive.
Exactly. And that choice, that decision to be engaged, to be positive, to be a creator, is what fuels self-motivation. And it's a choice we have to make every single day. And to make those choices effectively, we need to constantly be learning, expanding our knowledge base.
Knowledge is power, right?
Right. It is. But it's not a static power. It needs to be constantly recharged. So be deliberate about what you learn. Don't just consume information passively. Seek out knowledge that aligns with your goals, that fuels your passions. And that knowledge will empower you to make better choices, to take more effective action. And, this might sound kind of out there, but the book actually links truth to beauty. It suggests that being honest with yourself, living in alignment with your values, is not only ethically sound, but it also creates a clearer path to achieving your dreams.
So being true to yourself actually makes you more effective.
That's the idea, because when you're living authentically, there's no internal conflict. Your actions and your values are aligned. And that alignment frees up mental energy and creates a sense of inner peace that's incredibly powerful.
I never thought about it that way, but it makes a lot of sense.
And on a more practical note, the book suggests techniques like reading important material aloud, which is something Abraham Lincoln apparently did.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it actually makes a lot of sense. When you engage multiple senses like hearing and speaking, you're more likely to retain the information. And then there's this idea that laughing for no reason can actually make you happier.
Wait, you mean just fake laughing?
Kind of. It's based on the idea that our physical actions can influence our emotions. So even if you don't feel like laughing, the act of laughing can actually trigger those positive feelings.
It's like tricking your brain into feeling good.
Yeah, and it might sound silly, but it actually works. It's a bit like those fake it till you make it techniques, but with emotions.
So even if you don't feel happy, acting happy can actually make you feel happy.
Exactly. It's a powerful reminder that we have more control over our emotions than we often realize.
I love that. And finally, the book ends with this really powerful metaphor, a walk with love and death.
It's a beautiful way to frame the journey of life. It's acknowledging that our time is precious and that we should make the most of it.
And to approach that journey with both a sense of urgency and a sense of love, both for ourselves and for others.
Exactly. To embrace the challenges, to savor the joys, and to live fully, knowing that every step we take is shaping the legacy we leave behind. So to wrap up our deep dive into 100 ways to motivate yourself, I think the biggest takeaway is that self-motivation is not some magical quality you either have or you don't. It's a skill. It's something you can learn, something you can develop.
And the book gives you all these practical tools to do just that. It's like a roadmap to unlocking your inner drive.
Exactly. And what's so empowering is that you don't have to wait for some external force to motivate you. You can choose to be motivated right now in this moment. It all starts with making a decision. So as you go about your day, think about what resonated most with you from our discussion.
Maybe pick 1 or 2 things you can start implementing today, even if it's just a small change.
And ask yourself this. Now that you have a deeper understanding of self-motivation, what previously unimaginable goal might you dare to pursue?
What movement will you make today to shape the person you want to become?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We're so excited to see where your journey takes you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep that motivation burning bright.
You've got this.